Over these many years, it's been said to a few, very few, who have come, it's time to play, go and play. What could that mean? It's been said that we have to become divine scientists, divine physicists, divine alchemists. And to become any of these requires research and experimentation, or play. The other day the question was asked, what is the difference between perception and apperception? If we look in the dictionary, perception is of the senses, and apperception is of the conscious. So the question could be, what is the difference between sensory awareness and conscious awareness? So there's a reminder of several old stories. Let's see if they give us some illumination about this question. The first is that story about the young man called Takamune. Takamune was born to a great samurai master, a master of the sword. But from the earliest age, Takamune's father thought that he did not have the qualities to make a samurai. And he grew more and more disgruntled with him until he threw him out of the house in disgrace and disgust. But Takamune was determined. He decided that he was going to prove his father wrong. So Takamune went out to find the greatest sword master in the land. And he traveled far and had many experiences. And he finally found himself at a mountain where he heard that there was an old hermit who was indeed a sword master, but had now retired and did not take students. Takamune was determined. So he climbed the mountain to where the retired swords master lived and asked him would he be accepted as his student, saying, I am willing to do anything that you say. And then Takamune said, and how long will it take? The master said, 10 years. Takamune said, I don't have that much time. In that case, it'll be 30 years. And the swordmaster had already decided that Takamune didn't have the stuff of being a swordsman anyway. But Takamune persisted. Please, please, I will do anything. I will become your servant. I will do anything you say. 70 years. And the Takamune said, but I have to prove to my father that I'm worthy. The master said, then it'll be a lifetime. But after much cajoling and toing and froing, the master swordsman took Takamune as his student. But he made one proviso. You must not even contemplate putting your hand on a sword. So for one whole year, Takamune became the sword master's servant. He washed his clothes, he swept his courtyard, he stirred the rice, and he was becoming very, very disheartened, contemplating even leaving, because nothing at all was happening. But then one day, when Takyamuni was stirring the rice, the swordmaster came up behind him and with a wooden sword went thwack on his shoulders. And from that moment on, Takyamuni could not rest. At any time of day and night, down would come the sword. But over this time, Takyamuni's senses sharpened. And after 3 years, they were as acute as the sharpest of blades. And then one day, just as the swordmaster was coming up behind Takyamuni with his wooden sword at the ready, without a thought, seemingly without even awareness, he lifted the lid of the rice cooking pot and held it up just in time to ward off the blow that was coming from the swordmaster. After this, the swordmaster said, "Ah, now we can begin the art of swordsmanship." And then there's the story of Li Tzu. Now Li Tzu had heard that old Chang could ride on the clouds and follow the wind wherever it blew. So he determined that he would come under the tutelage of old Chang. And when he arrived at the abode of old Chang and was accepted as his student, he spent the first 3 years honing his sensory and body skills. During that time, old Chang did not even look at him. But after 3 years, Li Tzu was afraid. He was afraid to speak about right or wrong, good or bad, lest his words be misjudged. That's when old Chang glanced at him. Another 2 years passed, and Li Tzu began to speak of right and wrong, good and bad, without a thought. That's when old Chang smiled at him. Another 3 years passed, and Li Tzu found that he could no longer tell the difference between good and bad, right or wrong. And he allowed whatever it was that came out of his mouth to come out of his mouth. And that's when old Chang invited him to sit beside him. Another 7 years passed, and Li Tzu found that he could no longer tell the difference between outer and inner. There was not a thought or a word that passed from his lips that came unbidden without conscious awareness. That's when he found that he could hear with his eyes and see with his ears. He left old Sheng with the ability to ride on the clouds and allow the wind to take him where it would. What is the difference between sensory awareness and conscious awareness? Why is it necessary for us to hone that awareness, the body and the mind, to become so sharp and acute that in every moment, in 360 degrees, there's acute sensory awareness? And then, what's your experience? How would you answer this question? How will you answer this question?
The concepts that you're talking about are simple. The practical application is something else.
All right.
So with both stories, it's a matter of conditioning or letting go, so unlearning. So you can just talk out of your hat, or you will never know where anything's coming from. You understand the futility of your position, you give up, and then you allow happening to take over.
Okay. Okay.
It seems like a harmonising of physical, the spirit, the physical senses pick up the energies that are around you, and then it's already harmonised with the spirit, and then the right action and right words come forth from that harmonisation of both awarenesses.
All right. So let's play. Let's play. Let's become those divine scientists, divine physicists, and alchemists. The inner and the outer. Perception, awareness, experimentation, play. How else will we know? Thank you.